Hey everybody, welcome back to Coffee with Mikey. Today, I don't know what I have, right? But I did put heavy cream in here. I put honey, I put a little bit of vanilla, and then I also put in the blood orange syrup in there. So I don't think they're conflicting as flavors. I think it's very satisfying on my palate. So I'm doing like the lip smack thing. I don't really notice when I do that, but I have a friend that it really triggers him a lot when I do it. And I think it's hilarious, right? I'm super troll. Don't let me troll you. Don't let me know what your weaknesses are, because I'll exploit. Um, it's one of those really funny things where I'm just not conscious of it. It's not something that triggers me. I just do it very naturally. So when he brings it up, it's always very surprising to me. I don't understand why does that bother you? Also, there's Athena in the background. My oldest, my firstborn, my precious love doll. That sounded weird. Now that I say that out loud on camera. Uh, but I call her Athena doll because she's such a doll. She's like very cute, very loving. She's always I don't know. She's like one of the best parts of my life is having Athena, and she's 14. I will have had her. I've had her for 11 years now. I bought this house. The first thing I did was I got a dog. All right, I have a yard. I'm gonna get a dog. And that's what I did. I got Athena. I went up to the local animal shelter, went to the county animal shelter, right? Dallas County Animal Services, where I was volunteering. Fun fact, I got fired. Oh, sorry, I got super excited. Super excited. I got super excited. I interrupted her now. I got fired for getting my prints done so I can go volunteer at the county shelter. Um, to be fair, I was already at the nice. I was at a job that didn't really align well with who I was and what I was about. And it was one of the things I was there out of obligation because they're very good to me during a very trying period in my life. So I got out of the army, um, was in school. It was difficult to find a job that I could be at school at the same time. Um, and things just worked out really well for me. So I got a job at this small local college, has its own private beachfront. It is a private college. Um, and I was there for like 2.5 years. And then during that time, both my parents died, right? So my mom died. She had breast cancer and then subsequently she had bone cancer, and she passed away. And then my dad, we have heart problems in our family, right? My dad had had a heart attack and a stroke. And then after my mom died, about 4 months later, he had another heart attack and he died, right? So I'm working this job and I'm like I went on bereavement. I came back like very quickly. I didn't have time to heal or understand like kind of grief I was going through. And, it was something that was really difficult for me to process. So I just like threw myself at work, right? I threw myself into work and try to like keep my mind occupied so I didn't like break down and cry and like just be crushed by the weight of grief. And that happened with my mom passing away. She passed away right before her favorite holiday. So like her favorite holiday is 4th of July. And then my dad passed away right before his favorite holiday, which was Thanksgiving. So it was one of those things where like, all right, I'm just on the road to recovery from this grief process. And I was supposed to go to like grief counseling and stuff like that because they offered it. And I just never went. I was so like crushed and emotionally like I felt like I couldn't show emotions because like as a man you're not supposed to cry or blah blah blah. Yeah, whatever. Um, I think that is a weird, antiquated standard of not being able to express your emotions, and it's very taxing, right? And like you're only supposed to display your emotions in certain settings, and it's only okay to cry in there, and like you're supposed to be the strong person in the room. Um, and I've experienced the death of a parent twice now. And I think if I could go back and handle it differently, I would not crash out on people. When I was kidding. I didn't crash out on anybody. Like it's so I didn't have any like moments where I projected a lot of that pain, anger, fear, sadness on other people. I was just able to express it, and like I didn't really know how to take it, so I would just laugh. I'm like, haha, thank you. Like I appreciate your condolences. Because I just had this learned behavior from the military to have this dark humor, and it was a weird reaction for me to portray that to other people because like, oh, your parent just died, you should be really sad, right? That's the expectation. I try to like lighten the mood because I didn't want to feel like crap all the time. There's is it a quote from Fight Club? I can't remember if I read it in the book or saw in the movie, but like there's a quote. It's attributed like if you feel like shit, everybody you hate wins, right? Like I don't remember that from the movie, but I just saw it on like a meme or something like that with Tyler Durden, and I was like, yeah, I won't say I don't hate people, but I will say like, I have a limited amount of time. I should spend that time doing things that I like doing, right? So feeling like crap is not something I like doing, and I spent years doing that. So like I'm just going to live a life in such a way that if anybody spoke poorly of me, nobody would believe it, right? And I feel like that I've accomplished that mission many times over. Um, so yeah, I got Athena. I got fired for adopting my dog. It was crazy, right? TLDR, I adopted my dog because I got fired. No, I, I bought this house. I finally got a house, and I was like, I'm gonna get a dog, right? And a month later, got another dog. But still relying on getting fired from that job that opened up a lot of time and space for me to decompress and be like, oh, it was just like not what I wanted in my life. Like I moved on, I got all this great experience, and they wouldn't give me a raise. I worked there 2.5 years, no raise, right? I was getting paid, oh, I don't know, it's 2013, 2012, 2013. I was making like 17, almost $18 an hour. And I was kind of stuck there. And I felt like I was in a place in my life where like I was obligated to be here because they were good for me or good to me during a time where I was experiencing like significant life events, right? Um, And I'm somebody who comes from a like immigrant family. Like my parents are immigrants, they immigrated here from the fall of the Vietnam War. They lived in a refugee camp for 10 years, and then they came here and they had this like kind of like difficult struggle where like they didn't speak the language and like they're thrust into like a very different society, very different culture. And it's structured very differently and their expectations are different and it was a lot. And my parents, I feel like were in survival mode for the majority of their lives, right? Like they didn't like I never went hungry, right? I never went without having a roof over my head. I made school. I got perfect attendance a couple times. I didn't get honor roll or anything like that. But like I always made it to school because that was the expectation. So I spent a lot of time and energy making it to school, right? Was always like perfectly on time, blah blah blah. No. But I can't remember. Like I did get perfect attendance for it. It's crazy, right? Because it was such a focus on education for my parents, right? Um, but it was because they were in survival mode. They wanted us to have a better life, so they made sure I showed up. And I'm very good at showing up for things um, when I want to, even when I don't want to, right? So that's part of my life that I think was imprinted on me, and I continue to do. I'm really good at showing up for people and um, being a part of people's lives when I can, right? And that's something I like doing. I like showing up and being there, being present for people. I've like gone to like people's basic training graduations. I've gone to like um, high school and college graduations, like when I can. Like I try to do that for like somebody who was my intern. It just didn't work out, and I felt terrible about it because I was in Japan. I'm like, oh no, the day you're graduating, I'm actually flying back from Japan. I'm not gonna make it. And I think like if I'd flown from Tokyo to like the airport that's close to them and drove there, I would have made it just as graduation was starting. And I'm like, it's just not possible. Right. Like I think it would have been a great surprise, but like he had to have tickets and stuff like that. And I really wanted to go. But so he's rolled into a master's program, so maybe I'll be able to go to his master's graduation and that would be like a special moment. But yeah, I mean showing up and being present and available for my team is super important for me. And people in my life. And I think that's what makes me a great leader is because I want to be there for people and I'm really interested in people and I care about their growth and development. They're not just a number to give me the next raise or next promotion. Right. And I don't think that's a sacrifice, right? I don't think showing up and being an authentic person for the people in your life is a sacrifice. I don't see it. as something that I see it as something that I'm supposed to be doing, not something like I'm obligated to do because I'm in charge or I'm in this person's life. Um, yeah. What I was going to talk about today is that I just had really two good back to back, not back to back, but like coaching sessions today when we're like as a student, I do a coaching session with another student and then one with like the professional coach, who's in the doctorate program. I think he's in the doctorate program. So like he's our the coach for many people. And I think I was worried about like a lot of the sessions, like I don't know what I want to get coached on, right? Like, and I think it's like an iterative process where we get better and better. And like I learned to lead and talk about the things I want to get coached on, and that person is able to facilitate my emergence. Emergence being like showing up as my best self and being able to like use a more Socratic method of me finding the solution on my own because I have all the knowledge and understanding that I need to do, that I need in order to be successful. I just have to be able to find the solution within myself, right? And then it clicks better. It clicks, right? Like it is so much better when I come up with a solution myself than somebody tell me what to do. And sometimes like you just want somebody to tell you what to do. Like what is the criteria that I have to say in order to satisfy the requirements for this, right? Just give me a checklist, I'll do it, right? Um, but I think it leaves a bigger imprint because I'm thinking about and I'm talking about the process and I'm feeling like my vocal cords and I'm like hearing like I'm using more senses uh and that imprints deeper on my neurological system, right? Like the synapses are firing with fires together, wires together. That's what they say. And I think that's true, right? So me coming to my own conclusions, right, is important. And having that satisfaction, right? I just haven't said satisfied before in my life until not a lot until I started this master program. And now I'm saying it all the time. But having that satisfaction is really great for me. And then I also find joy in other people achieving that level of satisfaction in their own life, right? Um, so I go from like advice giving, right? Which I mean, I don't like unsolicited advice. Some people do, some people don't, right? So my role as a coach is to ask questions to help facilitate the person's emergence, which means them coming to their own solutions to the problems that they have in their life. So for me, I just don't think I have a lot of problems. But like when I start talking, right, and we go over like, hey, what do you want out of today's session? What would you like to accomplish, right? And it's one of those things where like, what do I want to accomplish? Like, what? And a lot of people say, well, I don't know what I want to talk about. And when you start talking, um, it helps, right? Like, sometimes like, I ask people to rate themselves 1 out of 10, right? 10 being the best day of your life, one being like the worst day of your life, right? Where are you at? And it helps me gauge other people's ability to, or like where they're at in their life, but like what people's lives look like. Um, and it helps me build a baseline of like, what is the expectation of what a day looks like. Um, and then I'll ask like what if they say like, oh, it's 5 out of 10, like, well, what does a 6 out of 10 look like, and how do we achieve that? Um, yeah, that's it. That's my coaching method. Why are people paying me bunches of money to coach them, right? But I think it's one of those things where like I don't market myself as a full-time coach, and I think if I did, I'd be very successful. And one of the things that one of my coaches gave me, one of my coaches outside of my master's program, gave me, she's like, "Well, what is it?" And I was like, "Well, I just have this fear of being successful, so I kind of self sabotage myself, and I just kind of run out of steam and." I don't have that sustained growth model in my life because I'm afraid that if I'm so successful, it's going to affect people in my life. They're going to leverage my celebrity or like what they think of my wealth or my time or my knowledge and use it against me or use it against people in my life. And that's like a really deep ingrained fear that I have because I one time I read an article by Tim Ferriss and he's like, it's better to be rich, not famous, right? And I'm just like, what? What do you mean? And he like outlines all the things about being like quote unquote famous, right? Like if you know who Tim Ferriss is, just like all these like people will send him letters that are just like are kind of detracting and disturbing, and just things that like hit him hard. And it was like one of those things where like, whoa, that's crazy. So I read the article. I was like, well, I want to be rich, not famous, right? And I'm just like, it's tough because part of me wants to be known and like respected, but at the same time, like being anonymous in the sea of anonymity is important. But and then I just like do coffee Mikey, and I'm just putting it out on the internet, right? Like, so I think I'm gonna have to find a happy medium where I'm like just popular enough for people to recognize me sometimes, but not like be like a whole ass like internet celebrity. And I think that that's just the balance I'm gonna get. I mean, what does it look like? What do I care about? In terms of like what's my number, like being independently wealthy. I think I want to be independently wealthy, so I can have time and energy to focus on things that I really care about, which is spending quality time with my family and friends and showing up and being authentic in a world where there's a lot of fakeness. There's a lot of like posturing, and people are wearing masks that are very heavy and it's taxing on them. And I want to live that way. I want to live in such a way that people, if somebody spoke poorly of me, nobody would believe it because I'm authentic and show up as myself. Are there like ugly parts of that? Sure. Like nobody's perfect, and everybody has this different lens. And I'm learning, or I have learned, right, that assuming other people have have the same level of comprehension and understanding that you do, it's a mistake, right? Like I'm mistaken when I do that, because everybody's wired differently. They have different goals, understanding, expectations, and not everybody has your best interests at heart. And it's somebody that like wants other people to win and wants to like portray that have other people's interests at heart. Some people are distrustful of that. Some people are like scared of it, and it's different for everybody. So I just have to meet people where they're at if I want to be in their lives, like in to go as far as I would like to go with them on that journey. And that's something I'm learning in this coaching program. I was like, I don't have to see it through to the end with everybody, right? Like I'm somebody who's like, I want deep connection. I want like lifetime relationships. I don't want lifetime friendships. I want to be in people's lives and see them learn, grow. Um, and I want to be there with the good and the bad, and I just can't do that with everybody. So like how far like what is the definition done? You go back to engineering terms, right? What is the definition of done? What is the acceptance criteria for like this friendship or relationship? Like do I want it to be transactional? Do I not everything is going to be a life or death situation. Not everything is going to be a lifetime commitment. I had to preface that. And I mean, like in one of my coaching sessions, we talked about operating agreements in relationships and friendships. Like, what does that look like? Like, what is my role in the friendship relationship, right? And we talked about romantic relationships and how I fumbled this person who was like a perfect fit for me according to many people, right? And I'm like, I just didn't see her as a mother of my children, so I didn't want to have children with her, so I didn't want to have a romantic relationship with that person, and um, it just didn't happen that way. Like I wasn't sleeping with this person or um, having what like a traditional romantic relationship would be like. But like I did heal a lot of my like old relationship trauma in healthy interactions with this person. And she brought a lot of value and clarity into my life, and I'm very grateful for that person being in my life. But she's no longer, and that's okay, right? Um, and I'm a healthier, better person because of it, right? Because that person's in my life and I had a graceful exit, and it wasn't like a big fight, right? It was just like, all right, well, this is where this ends, and that was it. So yeah, it was great. It was great to have that clarity. It was great to we had a wash the dishes moment. So like Jennifer Aniston has this quote in a movie. I can't remember what it was, but it's like, I don't want you to wash the dishes. I want you to want to wash the dishes. And I didn't really understand that until this came up during a coaching session with my coach today, and I was like, I get it now. Because we had this like interaction where this person was like, "Oh, I'm not your wife, so I'm not gonna wash the dishes," and I was like, "That's a weird thing to say to me, right?" Like, I was just like, okay, sure, so I'll just wash the dishes. It's not a big deal. And now, now that I'm more mature, I'm able to like understand and like look at it objectively and like what my feelings were in that moment and be like, okay, what was I feeling during that actually like what I feel now is joy, right? Like, I feel like, oh, well, I do want to watch this just now, right? Like now I can giggle. And, like I can giggle not as like a fear reflex. So I giggle like, oh, there's so much joy. Like, oh, she's not my wife. She's not my wife. She's haha, sure. I'll just do it. Right. And instead of I do it because I want to do it, not out of like a sense of obligation. Because if I don't do it, like this person's gonna be upset at me. And like I have to have this like people pleasing concept of like if I don't do it, I have fear that if I don't do it, this person's gonna leave me, right? Even though I was in a relationship with this person, I was like in this people pleasing like area in my life, like moment in my life, where like, well, if I don't do this, like the fear of losing this person in my life is like, a life or death situation, right? Um, Very interesting. Right now, I can look at it from a data perspective. Like so, the five emotions we're looking at in the coaching program or leadership program so far is fear, hurt, sadness, anger, joy, right? And like they're not good or bad; they're just data points, right? They're like, oh, when I feel fear, like I can objectively analyze that and say, oh, why am I feeling fear? Like, or I mean, I don't have to understand it, but like I recognize that I'm feeling fear, right? And in that moment, thinking back on it, like years and years ago, it's probably 2 3 years ago, like I had a fear that if I didn't do this, I'd lose this person, right? My reaction was to laugh at it, like hysterically, right? Because that's like my reaction to things. I used to laugh hysterically like a crazy person. I use my Joker laugh. I didn't use my Joker laugh on her, but like I had this fear response, right? Because as a child, I was always afraid that my mom would just leave and never come back, and that was like a detrimental thing to say to me. I had this conversation with my sister yesterday after she picked me up from the airport. But also, fun fact, we just got back from Vegas for like a day conference. So I was there for like 24 hours, and it was fun. I've never been before, but it was really fun. I didn't do anything crazy. I didn't gamble. Didn't have a shotgun wedding. Um, Presided over by officiated by an Elvis impersonator. Didn't go to Taco Bell and get married for 750 for lifetime Taco Bell. Apparently, that's not a real thing. Right? So I had to Google it and look it up because like this is ridiculous. I get lifetime Taco Bell and I just got to sign some paperwork. Let's do it. Right? So it was very enjoyable experience. I got to meet many of the great authors who I've listened to dozens of books from, and like I look forward to what's next with those books and those series. And I'm happy to support and give what I can because I one of the reasons I want to be independently wealthy is so I can support projects like that, and like I want to see other people's creative intelligence. Right, I want to see and weave stories together and be like, yes, that is fantastic. I love that, and I find so much joy in seeing people express themselves authentically. Right. Um, yeah, lip smack. Right. I think that's it. Right. So I just really like my life. I like where I'm at. I'm happy with who I am, and I'm happy to show up authentically in my life. So other people can see me as the example, the lighthouse that is shining bright, and giving them the example to show up authentically as themselves. To not be afraid to show up, and be present, be readily available for themselves so they can be really available for others, right? Like it's one of those things that I really enjoy about my life now at 37, right? That I mean, at 37, even though like I'm like cranky, I have back pain and stuff like that, um, I'm happier. I'm happier now than I've ever been in my life. I'm happier than at 27, at 17, any other place in my life. Even though like I'm single, right? I have all these hallmarks of success, right? Because I've chased those things, and now I'm like, all right, well, I don't have to chase those things, right? I've done that, and now I've learned other things in my life that I want to do, right? And now like the things in my life that I've wanted the whole time, instead of chasing things that I thought were important, I'm authentically present and available for those things to show up in my life. And like women I do want to be the mother of my children are showing up. Like I'm seeing like patterns in my life where I'm just like, oh yeah, I asked for that a long time ago and now I'm getting it. So like things are coming faster, right? Because I am in this more calm, more regulated state, and I can pursue opportunities that I want in my life. I can be there and be readily available for the right people to show up, right? Like they're not gonna like knock on my door. I'm like, ah, ta-da, I'm here, right? But I also I have the time to deliberately go out and meet people that are super cool, right? That are like, oh yeah, I never would have had this opportunity to meet this person if I was just like panic rushing, trying to chase this like, excuse me, trying to chase this thing that I didn't even know if I really wanted. Right now that I'm more calm, I'm more deliberate. I'm able to show up in a way that has people wanting to hang out with me, like that. I can spend time hanging out with people I actually want to hang out with instead of like out of a sense of obligation because we've been friends for a long time. So I'm able to do things I really want to do, like F yeah, I want to do that, right? Instead of like if it Derek Sivers has this book, Hell Yes or No or something like that. And it's like it's one of those things where like absolutely, without a doubt, right? I want to do that, right? And if it's not like the absolutely 100% yes, it's no, right? If it's a maybes or no's, right? In my life now, like, oh, maybe, right? And I just lived in that ambiguity for a long time. Maybe like the non-committal. And now I was like, it's fully commit or it's nothing. And I think that gives a lot of clarity and purpose into my life. So that's it.